Hi friends, and welcome to another episode of Booked, a place to explore the realms of creativity. Today's guest is author Sora Sullivan. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited too. It's been a long time coming. This is going to be an incredibly interesting episode, I think, because your style of writing and what I've seen you produce is unlike anything I've ever read before.
Wow.
It's very exciting, and I cannot wait to sort of like pick your brain apart a little bit and find out where it came
Sweet.
from. Yeah, right. It's gonna be crazy. I might be overpromising a little bit, but you never know. So I think what would be interesting or the most exciting is if you could tell our listeners a little bit about what you've been writing and what to expect from you.
Okay. Let's see. Well, first of all, please don't have any expectations. If you do that, I won't be able to meet them.
That's fair. That is fair.
And I mean that in a self-deprecating way, but I'm also like quite serious about it because I don't really know what I'm going to be doing with the rest of my writing career. I know about this project and I know about the next project after that, but I don't know what I'm doing after that. And I don't want to marry myself to a genre. I don't want to make a lot of promises that I can't keep, because that's how you build trust with your audience. You make promises and then you keep them. And that's what genre fiction is all about, is either making the promises and keeping them, or making them and breaking them in the right ways. And that was kind of rambly, but
It made sense.
Yeah, okay, thanks. As long as it makes sense and I don't sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, everything's fine.
Oh, yeah, you're great. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm working on right now is kind of difficult to define. Interdimensional Bachelorette is a project that I have had in the works for coming up on 5 years as of right now, in December of 2024. So it's big. It's approaching 1 million words pretty quickly.
Where is it at now?
It's like in the 880 something thousand word range.
My eyes nearly flipped back into my head. What the fuck? That is I didn't know that many words existed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of words.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely not a small thing, but that's just because I didn't know what I was signing up for when I started it. I thought it was going to be, just like one and done. I was going to write a book and then I'd be done with it, and then I could move on with my life. This was my fun throwaway project that I could teach myself how to finish books with. And then it slowly took over my life. So what is it? It is the way that I have decided to describe it is that it is a fantasy epic disguised as a romance, disguised as a parody. So, like, at first glance, it could be any one of those things. But like at its heart, it's not about anything that it's apparently about.
Which is why it's interdimensional, because it's interdimensional inside your brain as well.
Right, exactly. It has so many layers and it has such a huge cast. And like, it's bizarre because it's kind of a fan fiction. Like, technically, a lot of people are going to think, oh, that's a fan fiction, we can't take it seriously. And people in the fan fiction community, in the fan community, I should say, I can totally see that side of the fence being like, no, that's not fan fiction. That's an original work. Get it out of here. Because I tallied them up the other day, and so far I have 11 original characters. If we count the antagonist, because I have taken significant artistic license with Jerry Farnsworth from Job, A Comedy of Justice by Robert A. Heinlein. He's my villain. He's my bad guy. And I love him to death. He's the entity that kicks it all off. So I couldn't be doing this without him. And I'm very grateful to him for being nefarious and giving me a story.
With some of your characters, do you find that they don't give you a choice? They're gonna be appearing, whether you like it or not.
Yes, quite a few of them showed up whether I wanted them to or not. And quite a few of them wouldn't stick around. And that made me kind of sad.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the idea behind this, the original idea, was a prompt that I found on Tumblr, I think it was. It was like a legendary post that somebody had screenshotted. I probably found it on Pinterest.
Yeah.
And the idea is your favorite character from your favorite book shows up, knocks on your door in the middle of the night or something, and says, "I've read your book and I know how it ends and I'm here to change it." And I was like, I love that. I love that so much.
That's
And
very
so
cool.
I started that. I started that in like September of 2019. And I made a lot of progress on it. And I was like, yeah, this isn't really all that satisfying. So then I took that idea and I morphed it into, well, what if a bunch of them, what if all of my favorite characters showed up in my living room? And that was the next iteration. And eventually that became what it is now, which is Interdimensional Bachelorette. And, you know, there were a lot of drafts in the middle because it took me a while to sort of tease out the plot from that bit of chaos that I tried to introduce. And, you know, if you just have chaos, you don't really have a plot. You don't really know what's going on. So I had to come up with some kind of why, and that wasn't working. So I changed it, and now we have this gladiatorial competition for the hand of the main character. It's ridiculous, but it's super fun.
So fun. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so much fun. So, has it been challenging for you to get it to this point in terms of like where you're going to go with it? Because over 800,000 words is a significant amount of words. That's like 10 novels. So at what point did you get like halfway through it and change how it was going to go, or was it in the plotting stages?
I'm not actually counting any of the words that I wrote before. It is what it is now.
Okay.
In that 800,000. Almost 900,000, but it's like 880. It's like 886 something. I don't know. It's whatever, and that's just the last count. I've written more since then. So yeah, it's a lot, and it's gone through a lot of iterations. I did the dumbest thing that I could possibly do. I gave myself a gigantic cast from a bunch of different genres that don't go together, so tonally we're all over the place. I gave myself a villain with nearly limitless power that is almost infallible, and then I made my protagonist all powerful. And then I tried to. That's the story, you know. That's the basic premise, is that there are these two all-powerful beings, or nearly all-powerful beings, that are in some kind of weird intrigue power struggle with each other, and then you have all these other pawns that are basically pieces on the chessboard that they're playing, but like it's weird because they're not doing it in a meta way. They're doing it in a very like, we're on the same level as you guys kind of way. So the scale is very cosmic, but the stakes are very personal. So I really shot myself in the foot as far as making this difficult on myself.
You weren't digging a grave, you were digging a trench.
Yes.
And now there's no escape.
Exactly. So a lot of this process has just been fighting with the pieces and getting them to fit together into something that's logical and coherent and actually has conflict.
So how do you keep track of what's happening? Because do you just kind of just sit down and keep writing, and then you stop, and then you come back and you keep writing, or are you like, okay, here's a spreadsheet or sticky notes? Are you winging it?
I'm definitely winging it at this point.
I love that.
I have systems that are in
Uh-huh.
place to help me keep track of stuff, but
Mhm.
mostly like I've gotten to the point where I can't keep all of canon in my head,
Mm.
but that's where I've been storing it. So I've just been remembering everything, and that's not going to work forever. But it's working right now, so it's fine.
Do you see an end to it, or are you just going to keep going until you run out of keys on your keyboard?
There's definitely an end. I have written the ending.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And what's interesting is that the ending is basically independent of this competition that's going on. I haven't actually explained the premise of the thing at all. So let's do that real quick.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
So, Sora Sullivan, it's not a
Mhm.
coincidence that her name is my name. We're the same person. This is a self insert. I have no shame. Uh, Sora Sullivan is a writer from the real world, and she has been abducted, along with many other fictional people, to this fictional world.
Mhm.
And the person who did that, the antagonist, Jerry Farnsworth, has put together a well, first it starts out as this magnificent ball dinner party. It's wonderful, just very
Oh,
like high society.
you meant like a see, I've read some of it, and I was like, I was imagining a ball, like the circular spherical object, just for a split second. I was like, wow. Oh wait, no, you mean the party? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very swanky party that he puts together. And during
Mm.
dinner, he announces, okay, so this person over here, the guest of honor, she's actually a goddess. And I'm giving you all the opportunity to woo her and literally curry her favor so that she will then be enabled to give you a boon. So basically, everyone's competing for their heart's desire, whatever
Mhm.
it is that they actually want. And I did that in a really meta way. I did that very much on purpose because I needed a way to motivate all of these people to stay and pay attention to
Mm.
this otherwise normal, mundane, nothing special about her human person. Like,
Mhm.
why would why would, let's come up with a good example. Why would the Winchesters, for instance, from the Supernatural series,
Mhm.
care about, some girl in a pretty dress? Like, they wouldn't.
Mhm.
So we needed a way for Sora to be able to entice these people to stay and talk to her and develop, relationships with her.
Mhm.
And I refer to the character in the third person so that I can maintain some level of separation and so that it
Okay.
doesn't get super confusing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the premise. Is he's hosting a perilous polyamorous version of the Bachelorette quote unquote journey
Mhm.
that is interdimensional
Mhm.
in this other dimension that he has created to host this
Wow.
game, right? So that's the setup, and
Wow.
from there, chaos ensues.
Mhm.
It's very orderly chaos.
I was going to say it's already quite chaotic before we've
Yeah,
started.
yeah, it is.
That's bad. So are you? So you've written all these words, and you've also written the ending. Do you know how you're going to get from where you are now to having it, the story finished for you?
No, no, I don't.
Okay.
I am I'm what is affectionately known as a pantser, I think.
Yep.
I but I It's a little bit more complicated than that. I don't just start and then have no sense of direction. I don't meander all over the place. I try to know exactly where I'm going when I start
Mm.
out so that I have at least a vague direction that I can move in.
Mm.
Um, but it's definitely the middle is the tough part,
Mm.
because you have the beginning and then you have the end, but the middle is what makes the end meaningful.
Mhm.
So you've got to go through all the twists and turns and the character growth and all that good stuff. And I don't have a plan for how I'm going to do that.
Mm.
And my process is very organic. It's very discovery oriented.
Mm.
I don't have something to write until I have kind of like a moment of inspiration where I just kind
Mm.
of see the movie start playing. So that's how that's going. I started and I know where I'm going, but I don't know how I'm going to get there.
That's fine. It's like me. I have to have a sat nav. Or what do you guys call it?
GPS?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Google
Anyway,
Maps is great.
yeah, it's my friend. So, do you have like protected time that you say, right, I'm going to sit down and write, or is it led by the inspiration? So you'll only write if you feel that you have something to give.
It's kind of both. Like, I am kind of privileged in that I don't have to work a day job. So I can give whatever time I have to this
Mm-hmm.
project. And that winds up being a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I spend a lot of time thinking about this, writing it, working on it, trying to keep it organized. The picking apart the problems that come up because the narrative constraints that I'm working with are ridiculous. So it's really tough to manufacture conflict, even though it's baked into the premise. You know, these people are
Mm.
competing for one of the 13 slots
Mm-hmm.
of winners because, you know, Sora is she's not monogamous.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry is sort of honoring that by making it possible for her to choose up to 13 winners.
Wow.
And that's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot. I don't think we're going to be able to maintain that many romantic entanglements, but
Mm-hmm.
that just leaves a lot of room for friends. So
Mm-hmm.
that's nice.
Yeah.
But it definitely keeps the drama high because a lot of the competitors are monogamous themselves. So they're going to have that talk, and that's going to be fun. I've been putting that off for an entire book and a half.
So I know previously, sort of off episode, we've sort of talked about how this is gonna look when it's
Mm-hmm.
finished. So in the sense of like, will it become a physical thing? Will it be a serialized thing? Will it be separate books or one giant book that's about 5 foot tall? From the sounds of it. So there's no pressure, obviously, to have made that decision. But do
Mm-hmm.
you have one that you're sort of leaning more toward?
Right now, the plan is to make it available for people to read.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'm going to continue with the serialized idea, just to give people the chance to sort of come in
Mm-hmm.
uh, as the thing is sort of happening, if that
Yeah.
makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and get invested because that's what I want for people to be invested in the characters that they may already be invested in these
Mm-hmm.
new characters that I'm introducing to them. And, I, the ultimately what I decide to do with the thing will
Mm-hmm.
depend on reader response.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, have a fancy book cover designed really expensively and make this available to be purchased on Amazon as an ebook or a print book or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then have no one be interested in it.
I see.
But I do want to give people the opportunity if they want to do that. And they let me know that they want, hey, I want a physical copy of this. This is a really cool story. I want to put it on my shelf because I
Mm-hmm.
like books. So that's the plan right now is to see what other people want out of this. And I'm totally okay with the idea that nobody wants it at all. Nobody asked for this. I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to bring anyone else who wants to come along for the ride.
That's very cool. And I
Yeah.
will be sure to put the links to where they can find your work in the description of the episode.
Awesome.
Because I think one of the, and I've said this in many other episodes, one of the nice things about doing this, in my opinion, and I hope somebody agrees with me, is that we're getting to know the person behind the work and the motivations, and you don't get that oftentimes, you know, seeing people's vulnerabilities or whatever they want to share, or, you know, the struggles that they had with particular chapters, or, you know, the not knowing how it's going to look in the end, or, you know, whatever it is. And I think it gives the story more value. So I'm hoping that by the end of this episode, people will be intrigued enough to at least check it out, because it's very witty. You are an incredibly, very intelligent, funny person.
Thank you.
And that really comes across in your writing. And it was just such a blast, because a lot of the characters that were from other places that you've borrowed and put and sort of put into your plot, a lot of them I didn't recognize, and so I was looking them up, and I was like, okay, cool. But it's cool because you have a visual, because there's like art that exists of these characters, and it just made it all that more interesting. And I think it would be nice for people that are fans of those particular books or shows or wherever they've come from, to see their characters doing something different. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool because I'm not counting on any of the readers that may be attracted to this being in all of the exact same fandoms that I'm in. So no matter what, they're probably going to be meeting some new people. And then, you know, they have a new fandom to get into, provided that, you know, they like those characters. But, you know, it's neat that that's a thing. And, you know, I really enjoy that you ran into these people and then you looked them up, and that makes me very happy.
I'm glad.
Yeah, all of these characters are my friends, you know, and I want to introduce them to more people. It sounds super cheesy, but
it doesn't.
My number one mission with this project in particular, and quite possibly all the writing that I'm ever going to do, is to spread love.
Oh.
Because that's what stories are for me. I don't know what they are for other people, but for me, they're a means to interact with people from other realities and love them, even though we're being super creepy about it and just watching them without them ever knowing.
Until they become sentient.
Right, exactly. Until we meet them face to face, and then we have to there's a reckoning about that, and I'm not looking forward to that either. Yes, I've creeped on you for years of your life. What are you going to do about it?
Feel uncomfortable, probably. Oh my gosh. So you said that you'd counted how many original characters you created. Have you counted the guest characters, I'm going to call them? I don't know if you refer to them as something else.
Yes. The contestants is what I usually call them.
Okay.
There are 50 contestants. And some of them...
50?
Yes. 50.
Bloody hell.
I know. I tried to limit myself to 30. I tried to limit myself to 40. And I had to limit myself to 50.
Next time it'll be 60.
There's no next time. This is it. There's no next time for this guy. This chunky boy is done when it's done, and I'm not revisiting it.
Are you able to tell the listeners a few examples of who we might meet?
Yes, absolutely. So the two people that we meet first are Julian Dvorak and Azra Al-Nuzar, I believe is his last name, from the Arcana visual novel mobile app game. It is a really fun, fluffy, just sort of otome game, but like better. It's a fun visual novel experience. Highly recommend anybody who's into that sort of thing. Check it out if you haven't already. And, there's some of there's some of my favorite characters. That kind of goes without saying. But let's see, who else do we have? We have Dream of the Endless from the Sandman comic series by Neil Gaiman. I make no apologies for borrowing him, and I will just try and do him justice. let's see, we have a lot of people from the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series by Laurel K. Hamilton. And I know she doesn't like people writing fan fiction either, but that's not something that you can actually stop people from doing. So
You're doing it because you love it.
exactly.
I see no problem.
That's why this is an homage. I'm not. I'm satirizing a lot of stuff, absolutely. But my number one rule is no one behaves out of character. No lore is significantly changed. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not making people do what I want them to do just because I want them to do it.
Okay.
Because that would defeat the main purpose of this for me.
Okay.
This is, according to my ex-therapist, this is...
What a title!
Right? My ex-therapist said that this is a valid therapeutic exercise and a good practice of self-love. Because what I'm doing, right? What I'm doing is I'm giving these characters the chance to give me the validation and the love that I want to receive from them, that I need from other people. They were my friends and family growing up. I really... relate to Matilda from the book and the movie, particularly the idea that friendship was something that only existed in storybooks. My childhood was very lonely, and reading was my escape. That's probably why I decided I wanted to write books when I grew up, is because that's where everything happened. That's where all of the love was. That's where all of the excitement was.
That's very cool. That is very cool.
Thank you.
And I love that you've just grabbed it by the neck and gone for it.
Yeah.
Like that's what is so cool. You've not only you've not tickled it, you've absolutely murdered it. You've gone, I'm gonna write 1,000,000 words. It's amazing.
Yeah, I definitely went whole hog with this guy. I enjoy the fact that I'm being completely unabashed about it. I'm probably not the only person who notices that main characters in particular tend to be ciphers for the author or the audience or what have you. Mary Sue fics are a thing. Self-inserts are a thing. And I'm not making any bones about it. I'm saying I'm doing this thing, and I don't see a problem with it. And I'm also telling a really compelling story. This isn't just a power fantasy for me. This isn't just me Mary Sueing myself. I'm trying to do it from a really authentic place, which is terrifying because I'm opening myself up to so much judgment.
Okay, so if it makes you feel any better, almost every single writer that I've spoken to uses their writing as a way of like getting through stuff and being vulnerable, because the very act of creating something and then letting other people look at it is incredibly vulnerable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's very vulnerable. So, I mean, having this main character be kind of like your essence and the things that you think are the things that you feel and experience, and then having people have the ability to judge that is hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's important that you do it in a way that is comfortable for you. And I think the people that are going to find it and read it are going to enjoy it, because it kind of fits into a category of belonging and, comfort and, things that the mainstream books and creative things don't really do. So, I don't know, maybe you'll create a movement.
I don't know about a movement, but I'm hoping that something about what I'm doing resonates with everybody who comes across it and gives it the time of day.
I'm sure it will. We'll find your people.
Yay! That's awesome. I'm also really hoping that Sora and I are able to say to the characters that other people love the things that they want to say themselves. You know what I mean? so that it can just be this really like vicarious, just loving experience for everybody. I think that'll be fun.
That's so nice. You're so nice.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, every time you say things, I'm like, oh, that's lovely. So, I mean, this must be very, very hard for you to convince people to read. And what I mean is because it doesn't fit into those categories that people expect, and it doesn't present in ways that are traditional and common. That has got to be a challenge, surely.
Not really. You'd be kind of surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, unless people are just being really fake about it. Everybody that
I'm not.
Everybody that I've explained this to, like even just the short line pitch, they've gone, oh wow, that's so interesting. I want to check it out. Where is it? I haven't gotten any like sort of negative or skeptical feedback about it.
Cool.
But yeah, the thing that's been challenging so far is just getting any kind of attention. It's really difficult to do that in this day and age.
Yeah.
So, I don't have clout to throw around. I don't have, a big, long mailing list. I started this marketing thing back in August because in order to do the thing at all, I had to divorce myself from the idea that anyone was ever going to read this. I had to convince myself that it was just for me. It didn't matter what anyone else thought. As long as I did it, everything would be okay. So I wrote book 1, and then I was like, well, I did it. Now what? So yeah, I just got really impatient to sort of get the word out. So I just started without really a plan or anything like that. I just was like, how do you market a book? Google, please, okay, thanks. And it was like, well, that's how you market anything as an indie creator. You do social media. And I was like, crap, I was hoping you'd have a better answer for me this time. Ooh.
Unfortunately not, Yeah. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah, so I joined Twitter again, and I started the email marketing thing, and I have a few people who've signed up to my newsletter, which is crazy. And I'm just chugging along, doing the best I can, and hoping that by joining the community and being supportive of other authors, that will help to elevate me as well. I want to lift everybody up. I think we could all get lifted up together. I love that theory, and I would love to see it happen in practice. I think that'll be really cool. Which is why I'm so excited about your project and Indiosyncrasy. I think it's such a neat idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm also very excited, and I really appreciate everybody that's taken a chance on it, because the website, as we're recording this, the website hasn't gone live yet, but when it goes out, the website will be live, and it makes me feel sick to my stomach because I so want this to be good. Yeah. And I think you're so right, is that social media is unfortunately a necessary thing that people have to use now for marketing, and something that I've seen with the indie creator group, I guess, like both writers and art, all forms of art rather, is that everything's behind a paywall, or if people don't know you, then nobody's going to see you, and if you put certain things in your post, then nobody will see them anyway, and you can't put a link here. And it's just such a friggin' minefield. So much more so than it was like 10 years ago, where it would just be chronological, and if people happen to see it, then that's great, and you post at the right time of the day, and blah blah blah. But now it's just this friggin' mind game. And I wanted to create this space that people such as yourself, writers such as yourself, could come to this central location and not network, but like be part of the community. Because it's hard for me as a reader, it was hard for me as a reader to find indie artists, because they typically are not the ones with the money that can pay for the adverts.
Yeah.
There are over 1 million self-published authors on Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing alone, which is nuts.
It is. It's crazy.
That's nuts. How are you supposed to find a book? How are you supposed to find that niche random thing that you might never have found before? So I'm hoping that through doing this, readers and writers alike can kind of come together and enjoy the space. So yeah, I'm hoping that this goes really well. So anyone listening, please check it out, because I desperately want this to be good for all the writers. I'm doing this because I've seen all of these creative people just screaming into the void, and I can't, emotionally, I can't deal with that. I have to help. So please let it work.
I think that, there are spaces like it that do exist, like you've said. But this is the first one that I've heard of that doesn't expect anybody to pay anything for the experience. And I think that's really cool and just very selfless. And I think that if you build it, they will come. That's been my attitude for this whole project, myself personally. If I write it, they will come. And I think it'll be weird if this doesn't take off.
I agree.
And just be really great for everybody, because you're fostering this community of mutual support, and just the unconditionality of it is really great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because I didn't want it to be this, if you can define yourself in this category. There are some authors that are featured on the website that haven't published anything, because it's not up to me to decide whether or not somebody's worthy of anything. All I wanted was, okay, so this person is a creative person, and this is how you can follow along in their journey. They may never publish anything, but you'll hear about it because they're posting about it. And I don't know, it's just something that's very human. And I think I'm sick of seeing things behind a paywall, and writers are not the ones with the money. Yeah. And that's the philosophy. But anyway, back to you. We're not turning this around on me, Sora. We will talk about you and your writing. So as I'm hearing more about it, and hearing about the plot and what's to come, I can so see this being a graphic novel. Have you ever dreamed of that being part of the thing?
No, this is the first time it's never occurred to me, but that's a really cool idea. I love it.
You should do it.
I can't draw quickly enough to make that a thing, but if I had the money to pay somebody to do that for me, I absolutely would, because that's a great idea. I love it.
Well, if there's anyone listening that wants to create a graphic novel with Sora for free, but you collaborate, and then when it becomes successful, you both get the money.
Yes.
There we go. Yes. That's the best I could do. Sorry, I can't draw right.
No, it's totally fine. That's awesome.
But no, I can just so see this being a really thick graphic novel, or little parts of the adventure being in comic form. I think that'd be sick. Yeah. Yeah, one for the corkboard. You can have that as a future goal, maybe.
Awesome! Yeah, I love it. Nothing occurred to me.
I mean, imagine in the future if people create fanfic of your story. That'd be sick.
Yeah. My beta reader put that idea in my head a while ago. He's looking forward to fan fictions of my fan fiction, and I'm like, yes. Yes, right? There are characters in here who are totally shippable. Let's do it.
Would it be fanficception? That's terrible.
That would be pretty fanficception.
That was so laboured. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I love it.
So, I mean, one of the questions that I normally ask people is why you write, but you've already told me. And I think it's really, really cool that so many writers use their creative endeavours to, kind of as a therapy almost. And if anyone is listening who, even if you don't want to write a book or publish anything, it's really an incredibly powerful tool. Even if you journal, or just anything, it's massively helpful.
And to be really morbid about it, morbid, it's not really, it doesn't have anything to do with death, but to be sort of like cynical and yucky about it, trauma makes the best art.
Very true.
It does. If you have something that you need to process, find your medium, because it exists and it will probably help, even if it doesn't do anything but help you to feel better. That's something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Something I found really therapeutic was, I can't believe we're going to say this, is, I don't know if you ever did this as a kid or even as an adult, but when you get a potato and you make it into a stamp,
I might have done that like once.
and you use the paint, that's an epic art form that is underappreciated. So if you struggle to write due to whatever factor, potato painting is legit, and I'm into it as well. So just
cool.
little idea.
No, I love it. That's great.
I just regressed so hard. God. Oh dear. Anyway, I don't know if that'll stay in the episode. So do you give yourself a time frame, or I know you said that you're working through this organically, but do you have specific goals or measures of achievement for this?
Sort of, kind of. The goals tend to show themselves to me. The milestones will sort of like crop up. I'm like, okay, what's next? Well, next is the next chapter. And after I'm done with all of the chapters in that book, once I've got a climax and it's all nice and wrapped up, then the next big milestone is the next book. And, I'm just sort of working through this in whatever way my brain tells me is the most logical, because my brain is the boss. I can think that we're going to do something a certain way, and I'm usually wrong. So I'm just kind of at this stage paying attention to what I'm doing so that I can kind of predict how it's going to go in the future, rather than trying to do things a certain way because that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bit of a renegade.
I guess.
So I remember you mentioning at the beginning that you have this project planned out and then the one after that.
Yes.
Are you able to tell me a little bit about that, or is you going to keep that close to your chest for now?
I can tell you a little bit about it.
Okay.
It has a title. It's called A Book.
Great.
Yes. I'm going to probably be writing it under another pen name pseudonym, Parker Peters.
Okay.
A book by Parker Peters is it's another really weird one, and I'm making it more complicated for myself than I need to, because that's just how I roll. So the protagonist is the reader, and the main antagonist is the narrator, Parker Peters. But she's a sympathetic antagonist because she does, she's helpful. Because without her, the protagonist wouldn't be able to have the experience of the book. But it's a probably young adult fantasy sort of adventure novel with a tinge of romance, and it's very meta. Because I can't do anything without making it super meta. And, it's a choose your own adventure, but without the choices. So you're just having your own adventure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the sort of main character does eventually fall in love with the reader.
Oh, that's very cute.
Right? And it was inspired by another legendary Tumblr post, I think it was, another prompt. Write a book where the main character falls in love with the reader. And, that was the OP. And then there were a couple of posts where it's just like they're writing the ending and it's all bittersweet. And I'm like, okay, cool, but that's not a whole book. Hold my beer.
That's amazing. Do you still use Tumblr?
I've never really gotten into Tumblr at all. I had mostly interact with it through the screenshots of other people's posts, but become sort of legendary and circulate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just making sure. I tried to get onto Tumblr because I was like, right, I need to open a social media account on everything, and then everybody can find me everywhere. Yeah. And then I went onto Tumblr and I set up an account, and I was just clicking through, and I went, I can't do this, and just logged out because I looked at it for collectively about 5 minutes and decided that I didn't want to be any part of that. It's different now. It didn't used to be so dark. It's very dark there now.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I haven't been on Tumblr in a while. But I tend to be very insular on social media. I don't really engage with other people's content so much as try and put out my own content.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it's there to be used however you want to use it.
Right.
Is it something that would you ever be interested in? Let's say, for example, somebody listens to this episode and they think, I really want to ask Sora some questions about this, or I'm really intrigued. Would you feel comfortable with people reaching out to you to sort of talk about your work, or would you prefer to let the story tell itself?
I would feel comfortable with people reaching out to me to ask me questions. I, however, reserve the right to let them know that that's a great question and not elaborate further.
And that's completely up to you, because obviously you should share whatever you're comfortable with. But I know it's a tough one, isn't it? Because letting people contact you is sketchy sometimes, but then also trying to make connections so that people know that your work is there. It's such a weird balance.
It is.
I've blocked a few people. Yeah, it's a dangerous game. Is there anything that you wanted to have talked about during this time that we haven't had the chance to talk about yet?
I don't think so. I've tried not to come into this with any kind of like preconceptions about what it was going to be or what we were going to talk about, and just kind of like be open to discussing whatever. So
what was that? That was amazing. Have you ever seen The Simpsons? He sounded like Homer's dad. I'm tired.
That's perfect. That's perfect, because like that's the same sort of register that the noise I make when I'm surprised comes out in. I call it the old man noise because it sounds like an old man.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You should definitely do outtakes on this episode because it's great.
Apparently I need to. Oh, I feel like I'll breathe. Oh, okay. Anyway.
I guess I could let people know about my podcast, sort of not really a podcast thing. I ramble into a microphone every day, and I post that on Spotify. It's called Sora Rambles. And you can find that through Twitter, through my website, through Spotify, if you just want to search Sora Rambles. It's basically just a deep dive into my daily life and my process and where I'm at right now, what's going on with me. I don't expect anyone to give a single iota of a shit, but it's there in case anybody does give the tiniest kernel of the most constipated shit ever.
You're really selling it.
No, that is my brand. Is I don't have a brand, and I'm. That's my brand. I don't believe in myself. So
I believe in you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
I will put the link to Sora Rambles on the description of the episode as well.
Okay.
So where can our lovely listeners find your work?
That's sorasullivan.com. You just first name, no space, last name.com. And that's
Awesome.
my website. That's where all of the things are right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And is there any social media that you would like people to be able to find you on?
Yeah. My Twitter handle is at Sora Sullivan, and that's the only social media I use.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Again, I'll put a link in the description.
Cool.
But yeah, this has been such a pleasure and a surprisingly very, very like rib splitting funny just for a moment there. I feel like I've winded myself with laughing. It's been very enjoyable, and I genuinely appreciate you sharing your thoughts and feelings and being a bit vulnerable and sharing your story with the world. And I really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoy talking with you. And it's always fun to talk about oneself. So there's that. And, I'm just really excited about this project, and I hope that other people can get excited about it too.
I hope so too. And by the time this episode goes out, your author feature on indiosyncrasy.com will be live. So you'll be able to find all the links to all your stuff there as well. So yeah, this has been very exciting. And I hope that in a year's time, we can do this again and you can tell me you've written another 1,000,000 words.
Yes! I would love that so much.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And I will catch you later.